Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. Um, we're back, and we got some news to talk about. I will say up front, we will be spoiling episode 5 of Hawkeye at the end of the show, so you can still watch up to then if you don't want that spoiled, and then you'll be able to look at the graphic and tell what is or isn't happening. And then when we get to Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm not gonna spoil that yet. I'll probably wait until next week to do a spoiler discussion of that. If you want to hear my spoilery thoughts, there is a video review up of it now that includes spoilers, so just upfront about all of that. But that's not until like the end of the show. So if you're avoiding Hawkeye and Spider-Man, you're safe until the end. Don't worry about it. Okay. First up, we are going to be looking at the trailers that released this week. And first off, we have a trailer for the Batman. It's an international trailer, and it does use a lot of the same footage, but there is some new stuff. Mainly, there's this image here of the Riddler. He's at what appears to be the cathedral or whatever, where there's a funeral happening. We've seen Bruce there in all the trailers, and it looks like Riddler is there too. And we have this image of kind of like Batman. He's like in the Riddler's area, I guess, or I should say, he's in his hideout. And it looks like maybe Riddler knew Bruce as a child. And then obviously there's the line at the end that's like where the Riddler is like, "I've been trying to reach you, Bruce Wayne, ha 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 ha," and then that's obviously insinuating that Riddler knows who Bruce Wayne is, or who Batman is. And yeah, now I guess it could be the case that he doesn't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, and the Riddler is just going after like the wealthy people in Gotham, and well, Bruce Wayne is one of those wealthy people. That is totally possible. So I honestly, I think both of those suggestions are equally as valid. But yeah, it is worth noting that it is possible that Riddler knows who Batman is. And yeah, I mean it's more or less the same trailer. It's just those new little nuggets of information. So the weird thing is that the trailer also has like this really cool music that sounds like a faster version of the main theme, or yeah, like of the Batman theme that we've seen from Michael Giacchino. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool version of the theme with a more like driving rhythm. But it's just stock music. Which is like really funny. It's like, oh wow, they managed to like find stock music that just like fits so well with this movie. So yeah, I thought that was like an interesting piece of information. But okay, our next trailer is Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. I did not watch this trailer because I have not watched any of the Harry Potter movies. No, that's a lie. I watched the first one. I was like, this is fine. And then I never went back and watched the other one. So, but this is out. This is a thing. I've heard from Harry Potter fans that they like it, apparently. Like even if they didn't like the Fantastic Beasts movies, apparently they like this. So, congratulations, I guess. Moving on. The King's Man. So here's the thing about the Kingsman franchise. I love the first movie. I think the first movie is awesome. And after I watched the first movie, I was like, wow, this is great. Like I could watch 10 of these movies. Like this could be the next James Bond. And then the second movie was so bad that it retroactively made the first movie worse, and it like completely deflated all of my excitement for for the franchise. Like I've never seen a franchise where the first movie had so much promise and then they just completely ruin it and stop it in its tracks so hard with the second installment. So I like after that, I always thought like, man, you're making a prequel now? Like this is so weird. But and I haven't really paid attention to the first two trailers, or I don't know, I'm assuming there have been two other trailers. But I have to say, I like this trailer. like I don't know. I it just it looks cool, it looks fun, and the action looks great. I I think I just want to go into this with an open mind and watch it. I think that's what's gonna happen. And hey, and well, actually, we'll get to what I was gonna say next later on in the show. So as of right now, Kingsman, what can I say? It looks good. Okay. Now we are going to move on to our actual first like news story of the day. Let me just move my camera. Oops. The Batman. Coming back to it. There are reportedly two cuts of the movie that Warner Brothers is considering. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Last month, the internet went a little crazy about Barry Keoghan maybe not playing the Joker in Matt Reeves' upcoming The Batman. Don't look to us for answers on that one, but we can tell you this. Multiple sources tell us that Warner Brothers has been testing two different cuts of The Batman, one with a certain actor, one without. And the final test screening occurred last week, with the decision now made as to which version the studio likes, says one source. Yeah. So, to be clear, this is not the Hollywood Reporter saying that, Barry Keoghan is going to be in the movie. This is just them saying that there are currently two cuts of the movie that Warner Brothers is deciding on. Obviously, like, who knows which one it is? Is it actually Barry Keoghan as a Joker? Is it Matthew McConaughey as Scarecrow? It could be. It could be either one of those two things. But I mean, that's cool, I guess. There's really no point in speculating too much about it because we don't know. But yeah, honestly, just the fact that there are two complete cuts, the fact that there's one complete cut excites me. And I desperately just want to watch this movie. I need it. Pump it into my veins. Please give it to me. Okay. But yeah, there are two cuts. Yeah, let me know. Do you think it's Barry Keoghan? Do you think it's somebody else? Like, what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Next story. There's a Gotham Knights CW show happening, apparently. It's coming from the Hollywood Reporter. The network is developing a drama titled Gotham Knights from Batwoman writers Chad Fivish, James Statara, and Natalie Abrams. The project is not a Batwoman spin-off. However, it's based on characters from DC Comics created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. I don't know what that was. Warner Brothers Games also has a Gotham Knights video game due for release next year, but the two projects aren't related. The logline for Gotham Knights reads, "In the wake of Bruce Wayne's murder, his rebellious adopted son forges an unlikely alliance with the children of Gotham's enemies when they are all framed for killing the Caped Crusader. And as the city's most wanted criminals, this renegade band of misfits must fight to clear their names. But in a Gotham with no Dark Knight to protect it, the city descends into the most dangerous it's ever been. However, hope comes from the most unexpected of places, as this team of mismatched fugitives will become its next generation of saviors." So, this is interesting. Obviously, like it said, this has nothing to do with the game. Now, I don't know anything about the comics, but I brought up this artwork, and maybe I guess in the comic books, like the Gotham Knights are Batman, Batwoman, and Robin, or variations of the Bat family, perhaps. And I mean, yeah, I guess this sounds like an interesting take on that, where it's a Robin, presumably. It's an adopted son, so it's probably not Damian Wayne. I'm gonna guess it's not Dick Grayson. It's probably like a Tim Drake or a Jason Todd, I would imagine. And I mean, yeah, like Robin teaming up with sons of Batman's villains, sure, why not? Like, this sounds like it could be fun. I've been thinking about getting back into the CW DC shows. Like, I'm really enjoying Superman and Lois. Like, part of me just wants to like jump on every new show that happens. So like, I'll I'll jump on that Naomi show, and then I'll jump onto Gotham Knights. Probably never gonna go back and finish watching The Flash and Arrow just because it sounds like way too much content. If I'm being totally honest, but I'll jump on the new ones maybe. Probably not though. Okay. Let's move on to the next story. Tom Rothman, he's an executive or whatever at Sony. He's confirming that Tom Holland will appear in one more MCU-related movie. This is coming from Screen Rant. Speaking with the Phase Zero podcast at the No Way Home premiere in Los Angeles, Sony Pictures' Tom Rothman explained that, based on the current partnership between Sony and Marvel, there is still at least one MCU crossover that would bring Holland into the orbit of the other Marvel characters. Rothman said, "We lend one, then they lend one. And that's how Benedict is in this movie. So we have one more lend back that is committed." Okay, so basically what this means is that this isn't saying that there's one more Spider-Man movie confirmed. This means that there is another MCU movie that Spider-Man will appear in. And the way that these deals work, by the way, is that like Marvel has another in their contract, like they can bring Tom Holland back in any movie that they want. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will or that they have to. So, but the way that he words this, let me just read through it again. We lend one, then they lend one, and that's how Benedict is in this movie. So we have one more lend back that is committed. The way that this is worded, right, is that Marvel and like the MCU, they can use Tom Holland. This doesn't necessarily mean that he will be used. Now I think he probably will be. Like if they're able to use him again, they probably will. But just to be clear, he's not saying that they will. But yeah, I do think that's an important distinction. Although in my opinion, they're gonna use him. Like my guess is that he's probably gonna show up in Doctor Strange 2. Although I feel like I should have looked this up before the show. Like, isn't that not confirmed that he's gonna show up in Doctor Strange 2? I feel like that is. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm going crazy. I'm definitely crazy. But I thought he was. I don't know. But yeah. Important distinctions to be made. Okay. Next story. Kingsman 3 is going to begin filming in September of 2022. It's coming from Screen Rant. In a recent interview with comicbook.com, Matthew Vaughn, who has helmed all of the Kingsman films, confirmed that production on Kingsman 3 would start in September 2022. Vaughn confirmed the film will wrap up Eggsy's story, making it the final part of a trilogy of films, not counting the upcoming prequel. No release date has been set for Kingsman 3, nor any word on which other cast members will be returning. Yeah, so Kingsman 3 is happening, I guess. I'll be honest, it's one of those things where I'm a little surprised just because the second one was so bad. And I'll say this, like, if The Kingsman comes out and it just absolutely bombs, I doubt that this movie will move forward. I kind of doubt that it will. So we'll see though, because apparently Matthew Vaughn like funds all of his own movies. So like when you see that the first Kingsman movies were Fox movies, it's like apparently Matthew Vaughn himself like funded them, and then like I guess Fox just distributed it. So it's not going to be as difficult necessarily to get a distributor. But either way, I do wonder whether this is going to happen. But as of right now, they say it is going to happen, so we'll have to wait and see. Okay. Denis Villeneuve is directing another movie. So this is coming from The Hollywood Reporter. Wilhelm Rendezvous with Rama for Alcon Entertainment, which worked with the director on the Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal star Prisoners and Blade Runner 2049. Along with Alcon co-CEOs Broderick Johnson and Andrew Kazavi, probably Kazov, I don't know, Morgan Freeman and Laurie McReary will produce via their Revelations Entertainment banner, with Freeman having previously held the rights to the 1913 novel. I don't know anything about the source material, but, Dennis Valamalamalamu is a pretty good director, ain't he? He might even be the best director working today. I'll actually be honest, I've only seen 2 of Dennis Valamalamu's movies, Prisoners, and Dune. Those are the only 2. I know, I'm crazy. Actually, I started watching Arrival and I got bored. So I'm just gonna pretend that I only watched 2 of them. They were really good. Prisoners is really good. I contend that Dune, it's like, Dune is good. It's not like bad and it's engaging, but like, I didn't find myself really connecting with any of the characters. So I'm like, this is cool world building, and I'm not bored or anything, but I don't care about any of these characters. So I don't know. Dune is like a weird movie to me, but yeah, but obviously everybody loves his movies. Everybody loves Dune. So, I've never heard of Rendezvous with Rama, but I see a bunch of nerds on the internet getting excited about this. So get excited. Valamalamu's directing another sci-fi movie. Get excited. Okay. Next story. The Fast and the Furious 9 has moved its release date. It's coming from the Hollywood Reporter. I did not credit them in this image, but let it be known it comes from the Hollywood Reporter. Okay. Fast and Furious 10. The movie's working title for now is pushing back its release date as its release in theaters by 6 weeks from April 7th. Oh geez. 2023. I'm dying over here. The beginning of Easter weekend to May 19th, 2023, Universal said Tuesday. It's not a massive move. I don't think this probably doesn't have anything to do with like production issues. This is probably like some analysts at Universal are like, we need to put it in May. It's gonna make more money in May. We need to do it. Our studies are saying that. It probably has to do with like box office reasons. I doubt it has to do with production issues because that's like a pretty small delay. So whatever. It's one of those things. It's like it's so far out that until we're like a few. I don't know. Like I'm not like actively anticipating it, basically. So that just does nothing for me personally, positively or negatively. Okay. Next story. We got some more castings for that Netflix Avatar show that everybody is worried about. Okay, so we have this person, Elizabeth Yu is playing Azula. Maria Zhang, I'm hoping that's how we pronounce it. I took a chance, I hope. She's playing Suki. We have Tamilin Tamita, I think. She's playing Yukari. Now, apparently Yukari is going to be a new character in the show, like an original character, so that's interesting. We have Yvonne Chapman as Avatar Kyoshi. Apparently this lady is from that Kung Fu CW show. I never watched it, but she is known. I don't know if the other actors are known. And then we have Casey Comp Norinek as Grand. I apologize for butchering all of their names. But yeah, we have all of these people are cast. I don't know any of these actresses, so I can't really comment on whether they're good or bad. But I mean, just looking at them, I'm like, cool. At least they're the right race, and they're not all white. But I mean, yeah. I do think that the most notable thing about this is the fact that they cast Azula already. Like, they kind of just indicates more and more that this isn't going to be exactly like the original season, because Azula is going to be involved somehow in all of this. So yeah, I mean that's definitely interesting. I mean, maybe they cast her and it's gonna be like the end of Avatar: The Last, or end of The Last Airbender, where it's just like her smiling and they're like, "Ooh, she's gonna be back in the next movie." Oh, we're definitely gonna get a sequel. Maybe it'll be something like that, where she's just at the end. But I mean, the fact that they cast her definitely means something, and the fact that they're casting like original characters is also promising that this isn't just gonna be a rehash of the original, and they're gonna do their own thing. So yeah, it looks cool, I guess. Next story. We're getting a Kick-Ass reboot, apparently. This is coming from Collider. And this is coming from Collider, where they're quoting the director. We got a big reboot of Kick-Ass in 2 years. Big reboot. It's so fucking nuts that I can't talk about it. But we've got that ready to go. All the rights revert back in 2 years, and then we're going to reboot it where people will be like, he is insane. Oh, and this is Matthew Vaughn, by the way. Because I think the clue is in the title, I think Kick-Ass became a new type of genre. Hold on, I'm sorry. Something happened to my camera. Sorry, I think my camera just turned off. Just hold on 1 second. Troubleshoot. Okay, there we go. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. Okay. You can't do the. Sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna restart this over. Because I think the clue is in the title, I think Kick-Ass became a new type of genre. Everyone was like, "Oh, you can't make R-rated superheroes. No one will want to see an R-rated superhero. You can't do this. You can't do that." So I had this idea, and it was so nuts that I went, "Yeah, great. It'll cause just as much controversy, and everyone will talk about it, and as many people will love it that love it will hate it." But I'm not saying it hasn't got the characters in it and won't have, I don't know. I'm just saying it's not what anyone could be imagining what it is. And I'm going to need one very, very brave actor or actress to play the new Kick-Ass, because it will scare the shit out of them. Okay, I mean, I can't say I'm not intrigued after he wrote that. But I mean, yeah, I guess I was reading a bit, and I guess there were rumors that they were gonna like develop a soft reboot where I think there was like a single mother or something that like takes on the mantle of Kick-Ass or something. I don't know if that's in the comics, but I was just reading that that's something that was being rumored, and apparently this indicates that that's not gonna be it. Maybe, considering that Vaughn is looking for an actor or an actress, but I mean, yeah, like this sounds intriguing. Like what I like the most about this is that Matthew Vaughn, like, he got an idea for a new sequel, and then that's why he's making it. It's not just, oh, well, there's this IP that was successful, we should probably do more of it. Like the fact that he was like, oh, I have this great idea, now let's make a new Kick-Ass. I think that sounds really cool. I'm a little disappointed that we're not getting like Alan Taylor Johnson or whatever, and Chloe Grace Moretz back, because I mean, obviously those characters were they were really good in that role. And I'll be honest, I think the character that I definitely miss the most is Big Daddy, with Nick Cage as Big Daddy. But obviously he died. But I mean, yeah, like, again, the fact that this is Matthew Vaughn being like, I have an idea, definitely makes me more interested in seeing whatever this is. Him teasing that it's gonna be so edgy, man. Everybody's gonna be mad, man. It's gonna be mad. They're gonna be triggered. I mean, yeah, like that. Even that stuff intrigues me to see, like, what could it possibly be that he thinks that an actress will be scared to play the role. I honestly don't know. So, well, we'll see. And okay, so now this is gonna be our last news story. Blue Beetle, in a very interesting move, has just gotten moved to a theatrical release. This is coming from The Hollywood Reporter. Warner Brothers and DC Films' Blue Beetle is moving from streaming to movie theaters. The superhero project was originally developed for Warner Media's streaming service, HBO Max, but Warner Brothers announced Thursday that it will instead get a theatrical release on August 18th, 2023. So, yeah, I mean, we've been talking about these like DC HBO Max movies for a long time, right? We have like Batgirl, we have Static Shock, I think. Are there other ones? I mean, I think those are the only two movies that they've confirmed, and then we also had Blue Beetle. There might be others, but I'm forgetting them obviously. And I've personally been like really curious about like, okay, well, like, are Warner Brothers gonna like put in the money and the effort to make like an HBO Max DC movie like mean something and be impactful? And you know, Blue Beetle is one of those that we're eyeing at, and it looks like Warner Brothers decided, nah, we're gonna put this in theaters. And honestly, this kind of makes me wonder about like the other HBO Max movies, because is Warner Brothers going like, oh, this one actually has potential, so we should put it in theaters? And like, does that mean that they think that the other HBO Max DC movies are gonna be, you know, streaming movies? I think we all know what I mean when I say that. I don't know. It like this excites me for Blue Beetle, because I enjoy the character of Blue Beetle. I've read some of the comics, and like I enjoy the character. I've seen him in cartoons. I've actually just started watching Cobra Kai, and I don't know if you knew, but the Miguel, that actor, he's going to be playing Blue Beetle, and I think he's going to be perfect for this role. But yeah, it's just very interesting that they decided to go with a theatrical release. Could we see it? But hey, maybe we could see the other movies get theatrical releases too. Maybe Warner Brothers is deciding that, you know, their whole like, you know, obviously the whole like movies streaming on HBO Max day and date as they are movie theaters, that hasn't really proven to be a success for them. Maybe they're kind of realizing that, you know, theatrical releases are still like their bread and butter, and they should be supplementing HBO Max with like shows and stuff, like really high quality shows. So we'll have to wait and see where everything lands, what WB's philosophy is going to be moving forward, or I guess Warner Media's philosophy is going to be moving forward. But as of right now, very interesting decision that they put Blue Beetle on, or they're going to release it in theaters in August of 2023. Okay, so that was the news, and now we're going to get into the segment of what I have watched this week. So starting up, I watched Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I'm never going to get over that song. It's one of the worst songs that's ever been made. I'm never going to get over it. Okay. I watched Venom Let There Be Carnage because I heard about the after credit scene, and it ties into No Way Home, and I was like, well, I guess I kind of have to watch it. I won't spoil as to how it all ties in or whatever, but Venom, it is... I mean, here's the thing. I think I've kind of succumbed to Venom, just the franchise. Like, it is what it is. And I think, like, partway through this movie, I just kind of, like, let it all wash over me. And you know what? I had fun with it. Is it good? No. Like, does it instill me confidence that Sony's, like, universe of Marvel characters, the Spunk, the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, does this movie instill within me confidence that this is going to be like a genuinely good franchise? No. Does it give me confidence in Morbius? No. Does it give me confidence in like the fact that we're definitely going to see Spider-Man show up in these movies? No. But I had fun with it. It's just goofy, ridiculous fun. Like that, it is what it is. And yeah, um, I succumbed to it. So yeah, Venom: Let There Be Carnage, best movie ever, 10 out of 10. Okay, now we're gonna talk about Hawkeye. We probably should talk about Hawkeye. Now, I feel like most of you know what the spoiler is. Like it's one of those things. I figured I'd give a warning because we're gonna talk about spoilers, but I feel like everyone knows what it is at this point. So, but if you haven't, Jeremy Renner's up on the screen. We're gonna talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home next. Just mute until you get to the Spider-Man: No Way Home. If you're watching this later, scrub through it. But yeah, Hawkeye. Okay, is everybody gone? Kingpin is here. He's here. He's played by Vincent Del Forno. Oh my gosh. Okay, but first of all, just talking about the episode overall, it was a solid episode. I liked seeing Yelena and Kate Bishop. I liked their interaction. I liked Clint kind of trying to resolve things with Maya. I don't think he succeeded. I do think that she's still big mad. And they're probably gonna fight again in the finale. And yeah, like they showed off Kingpin. Oh, and they finally confirmed that. Like we all knew that Kate's mom was sus, but we all know now that Vera Farmiga is like Kingpin's underling, and just he's there, he's here, and to answer the title of the video, what does this all mean for the MCU? I mean, basically, this means that now everything is on the table as far as the MCU is concerned. And we already kind of knew that with like the multiverse and stuff, but everything is on the table as far as, hey, did you think that this one thing was never going to connect with the MCU? Well, guess what? It could. Like, hey, are you like a really big Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan? Guess what? Like, agent guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. could potentially show up. The person, like somebody from Agent Carter could show up in one of these things, right? We could see Finn Jones as Iron Fist in the MCU. You all wanted it. It can happen now. But yeah, like basically anything is on the table. Like, hey, did you like the Runaways? Did you like Cloak and Dagger? Those guys can show up potentially. And that really is what this means. Like, pretty much everything is on the table. And like this means that we're probably gonna see like John Bernthal back. This means that, and I'm not going to confirm whether or not Charlie Cox is in No Way Home or not, but I'll just say that when I saw Hawkeye and I saw Vincent D'Onofrio, that confirmed for me at that moment in time, like it made me think that he was going to be in it, like for sure. I'm not saying whether he is or isn't, so don't get up in a tizzy, but this means that we can see Charlie Cox come back at some point. And yeah, I mean that, like, it really does mean that Marvel is now at the point where they're gonna get crazy. They're gonna start doing just doing stuff for fan service purposes, and that's either gonna be a good or a bad thing. It definitely makes me a little worried. Just like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Vincent D'Onofrio. I love Daredevil. It's probably my favorite show of all time. So I'm not saying I'm sad about these characters, but there was a certain order to the MCU. There was a certain like organization to the MCU that I think made it really good and successful. And now they're getting to the point where Kevin Feige is just like, we gonna get a little bit crazy. We're gonna get a little bit crazy, and that's not a bad thing inherently, but we're no longer in the era where Kevin Feige's MCU is this extremely like orderly thing, and we're never going to interact with things that I didn't develop myself, right? We're not in that era anymore. We're getting crazy. So yeah, this is huge. This basically lifts the doors off. Like, we can see anything in the MCU at this point. Um, but I mean, yeah, overall, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I will say the one thing that I'm worried about is this show has been very slow, and that's my main complaint about it. It has been very slow. It's like we got into the show, like the setup of the show is, hey, Kate has gotten in some nasty stuff. Like, her parents' organization is involved in some shady stuff. We got to figure out what's going on and clear Kate's name, right? That's the setup of the show. We're in episode 5. At the end of episode 5, we just now got information about Kate's family's shady company. We've just been treading water for the past, like, 4 episodes, it feels like. And that's been my main complaint of the show. And going into the finale, I'm like, you need to wrap all of this up. You need to, like, wrap up Kate and her mom's things. You need to, you need to wrap up everything with Echo. Although maybe everything is wrapped up with Echo. Although probably not. Like, she's, again, like I said, she's still big mad. She's probably going to still try to kill Clint. You need to wrap up everything with Clint and his family and all that stuff. You need to wrap up everything with Clint and Yelena. It's like, you need to do a lot. And considering how much water has been treaded in the past 4 episodes of the show, like if there were like 9 episodes, then I wouldn't worry about it as much. But I'm just wondering. I'm curious, very curious to see how they're gonna handle the rest of the show. But yeah, either way, as far as like a fan base perspective, I'm soy facing. I'm ready to consume, but I am worried about the narrative of the show. But okay. Yep, that's it for Hawkeye. Now we're going to move on to Spider-Man No Way Home. Okay, all you Hawkeye people, were you frightened about being spoiled by Hawkeye? Well, don't worry, because I'm here now. We're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home in a spoiler-free zone. We're not going to spoil No Way Home. I just want to give my general thoughts on it. Again, if you want to hear my spoiler thoughts, I do have a review that includes like a spoiler section in the second half. Okay. Spider-Man No Way Home. Although now that I think about it, this is the last story of the day, so I'll probably just get into spoilers, but I'll let you know when that happens. Basically, this is what I'll say. I really enjoyed it. I think that it is, like, forget about the questions of whether or not Toby and Andrew or Charlie Cox are going to be in it. Forget all of that. At the end of the day, this is just a really good Spider-Man movie. And I said in my review, I think that this might be the Spider-Man movie that unites the Spider-Man fandom. You know, I don't know if you're as terminally online as me and you've seen all the fights between all of the, like, the Raimi people and the John Watts people and some people, like, in the middle, like me, that are like, Mark Webb is good too. Let's appreciate Mark Webb. But I really do think that everyone is going to be able to identify with this movie. And I mean, not everyone, but I think most Spider-Man fans are gonna like I'm not saying that you're gonna look at this movie and be like, oh, this is better than Spider-Man 2, but I think that you're gonna be able to at least appreciate what they're going for here. And I personally thought it was great. Like, in my opinion, this is definitely the best MCU Spider-Man movie. Maybe the best live action movie. I don't think it's as good as Into the Spider-Verse, but I think it might be the best live-action movie. I'm going to need to marinate on everything a bit. But I think the one thing that I will say is that, and we've seen from the trailers, there's a lot of fan service here. Now, the thing is that fan service is not inherently a bad thing. Like, you can utilize fan service and make people soy face, but then also have that fan service be in service of the story. And for the most part, all the fan service in this is in service to the story. Like, I think, yeah, the one thing that I definitely can say is that at the end of the day, this is very much a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. And he's not overwhelmed by everything. That's never lost. This is a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. And yeah, that's what I will say. And yeah, you know, obviously we've seen in the trailers, Alfred Molina is back as Doc Ock. We have the Green Goblin back. Jamie Foxx as Electro. We see the Lizard, and generally speaking, I think they're all great in their respective roles. I think Alfred Molina. It's awesome seeing him back as Doc Ock. Willem Dafoe kills it again as Green Goblin. I mean, just what an amazing performance! Just those two. Say what you will about the Raimi Spider-Man movies, I have my critiques of them. I don't think they hold up as well, but there's no denying that Alfred Molina is Doc Ock and Willem Dafoe is Green Goblin. Those are the two best Spider-Man live-action villains ever, due heavily in part to those performances because they are so good in this movie. But okay. Yeah. Okay. Those are my spoiler-free thoughts. It is very good. And I will also say, just from a cinematic point of view, I think this is the best one ever. I think the first two, Homecoming and Far From Home, pretty visually bland, action not very good. I think this one steps it up to a significant degree. Is the action in here still isn't as good as the Raimi movies? No, but at least John Watts is trying in this one to make some compelling action. And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely some really awesome fights. Honestly, I would say maybe the most intense of the Spider-Man movies. I'll just say that. Okay. Those are my spoiler-free thoughts. Now allow me to go into some spoilers. Okay, is everybody gone? Yeah, so as far as my spoiler thoughts go, first of all, it needs to be said, Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil. That is the most important thing that anybody should be concerned with. I clapped, I soy-faced when that happened. And yeah, honestly, little disappointed that we didn't see him in the costume. A little disappointed that he didn't walk in saying Peter Parker, my name is Matthew Murdock and I am your lawyer. A little disappointed that we didn't see that. A little disappointed that we didn't see him listening to Tom Holland's heartbeat to tell if he's lying or whatever. A little disappointed that we didn't see any of that. At least he caught a brick. He did catch a brick. It's fine. It's cool. And then that little scene kind of confirms that Peter Parker doesn't know that he's Daredevil. I'm a little disappointed about all of that. But he is back. That is all that matters. And yeah, obviously going back to what we talked about with... Actually, no, I'm not going to spoil Hawkeye in this because it's the spoiler-free section, so... Forget what I said. But yeah. And then, obviously we see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They are indeed back as Spider-Man, and I thought they were great. Man, listen. There's obviously the debate of who's the best Spider-Man, and seeing them back, all three back, it kind of solidifies a couple things. It solidifies that I do not like Tobey Maguire very much as Spider-Man. I'm sorry. I just don't. I just don't think he's very good in this role. I'll be honest. I don't even know Tobey Maguire's work outside of Spider-Man. I think he was in that one Great Gatsby movie or whatever. He was probably fine in that, but I just don't think he's very good as Spider-Man. I'm sorry. I don't know. But this solidified another thing for me. Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. He just is. Say what you will about his movies. He is the best Spider-Man. He is definitely the best actor to have played Spider-Man. And I did not cry really in any of the moments. I think, what did I say? Okay, I need to be consistent. I think I cried when I started tearing up. Yeah, no, I didn't cry at any point during the movie, but I did kind of start tearing up. I think it was when when Peter and MJ were saying goodbye to each other because Peter is oh, you're gonna forget who I am. Blah, blah, blah. I think I started tearing up during that, but I was really on the verge of tears when Andrew saved MJ. His performance brought me right back to Spider-Man 2 when Gwen died. I was on the verge of tears. And you really have Andrew's performance to thank for that, and just in general, just his mannerisms as Peter, his his quippiness, his everything is amazing. Gosh, I want the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just bring Andrew into the spunk. Leave Tom in the MCU and just make the Amazing Spider-Man 3. Please, I beg of you. Amy, Pasquales, just do it. But yeah, no, I do think that overall, like, and by the way, even though I didn't necessarily like Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, I still appreciate seeing him back. Don't get me wrong, it's hype, it's all that, like, and he served a narrative purpose in the movie. Like, I don't think he ruined it by any means, and like all of the narrative stuff that he was involved with, and sort of mentoring Peter, and sort of like reminding him that Spider-Man should be redeeming the villains and all that. All that stuff was awesome and great. Him coming in at the last moment to stop him from killing Green Goblin, dope, awesome. Don't get me wrong. This is not me like saying that Tobey Maguire like ruined this movie or anything. But yeah, I mean, really the stuff that the only real spoiler stuff that I really want to delve into too deeply is really everything at the end. Because it was really at the end that solidified for me that, yeah, I think I love this movie. And it's one of those things where I haven't, it hasn't necessarily bothered me, like, too much, the fact that they never talked about Uncle Ben and all that stuff. And, the fact that that Peter has been too reliant on, like, Stark technology, and that these movies have made Peter too reliant on other superheroes or whatever. Like, none of that stuff has ever bothered me like too much. I'm able to accept that. Okay, whatever. This is the MCU Spider-Man. This is what they're giving me. I accept it. Right. That's always been like my mindset towards it. But the way that they handled it at this movie at the end, kind of makes you realize that this trilogy has really been about Peter becoming Spider-Man. And it wasn't until the end of this movie that Peter is Spider-Man. And and the way that they handled it made me appreciate the first two movies a bit more. And I think, hopefully, will at least, like, please somewhat all of the people that have had those complaints. And it was beautifully done. I mean, I have a couple questions, right? Like, is Uncle Ben a thing in this universe? Because the one interesting thing was, like, Aunt May is basically his Uncle Ben. Like, she is the one that gives him this lesson of responsibility, of empathy, and sort of instills in him the values of Spider-Man. And obviously she dies in this, and we get to see Peter going on the vengeful murder of Green Goblin, and thankfully we have Tobey Maguire stopping him from making the same mistake that he made, and so like obviously Aunt May is his Uncle Ben. But was Uncle Ben just not a thing in this universe? Obviously, we'll find out for sure in Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is going to be that animated show. But yeah, because I noticed that Aunt May wasn't next to Uncle Ben's grave. Like, their graves weren't next to each other. So I'm very weird about that, because there is like that Uncle Ben suitcase that he has in Far From Home. Although I guess they could retcon that if they really wanted to. And then we see him make the decision, right, of letting MJ and Ned sort of lead normal lives, because obviously he's put them in harm's way as Spider-Man. Like, that was incredibly powerful. And then, I mean, man, just seeing actual growth in this character, I think, is just the most satisfying thing, right? Because in my opinion, seeing him be like a child like I was cool with it in Civil War. I was more or less cool with it in Civil War and Homecoming. By the time Far From Home rolled around, I was like, dude, are you really giving this stranger like the glasses? Are you really trying to like blow up your friends? Are you really trying to delete your friends like text messages or whatever? I was like, by Far From Home, I was like annoyed by it. And yeah, just seeing the growth in this character, ultimately satisfying. And oh my gosh, dude, seeing him get his apartment, seeing him look at the police radio, seeing the fact that he sewed his own suit. Oh, oh my god, bro, chills. Like that makes me more excited for the next Spider-Man movie than I was for this movie. I cannot wait. And yeah, like just seeing the fact that this was Peter becoming Spider-Man, like for real, is just so cool. And the interesting thing is that basically he ended this movie with his Spider-Man still being in the MCU. Like a lot of people were thinking, okay, is Sony going to take back the rights? Is this movie going to end with Tom Holland ending up in the spunk in the Sony universe of Marvel characters? But that's not really what happened. Like we see distinctly in the after credit scene that Venom gets yanked back to his universe, back to the spunk, where Spider-Man doesn't. Okay, my computer keeps on turning off. I'm not sure what's happening here. But we're gonna turn it on again, see what happens. My apologies. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with that, but yeah, we see Venom get yanked back into his universe. He doesn't really know about Spider-Man, so presumably there hasn't been a Spider-Man there. How is everything going to connect? I don't know. I don't know. And I guess my initial thought was like, okay, well maybe they're just in separate universes. But then we see in the Morbius trailer, like we see Michael Keaton's Vulture. We see the Spider-Man murderer thing where it's like, okay, well clearly Morbius is in the MCU. Okay, and then I thought, okay, well maybe Morbius is in the MCU, but Venom's not. But then you see at the end of the second Morbius trailer, he's referencing Venom. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with any of that. I'm very confused. Like I genuinely I have no idea what they're doing with any or all of that. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. But I will say at the end of this, I mean, I'm not sure. I feel like with him still being in the MCU, that probably means that Disney and Sony are going to work out a deal and we're going to get more Spider-Man in the MCU. I think. But also with this movie ending with Spider-Man kind of being on his own and not really, no longer really having any connections with characters tied to the MCU. I'm not really sure. I'm honestly not really sure. But yeah. And then as far as like that Doctor Strange teaser trailer, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a little cheap to have a teaser trailer instead of like a proper post-credit scene. Because that's the thing. If they gave us like an after-credit scene of Doctor Strange and then having to do something with Into the Multiverse of Madness, that would be one thing. But just doing a trailer, it feels a little cheap to me. I don't know. That being said, it looks cool. Like, I'm not going to lie. From the very beginning, I was like, "Oh yeah, Sam Raimi is like again, like I said earlier that I don't think that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies hold up. None of that has really to do with Sam Raimi's directing, because I think he is an incredible director. I think he has an incredible sense of style, and I honestly do think you kind of get that from the few. From the very small bits of footage of Into the Multiverse of Madness that we saw in that teaser trailer, and I'm like, man, I really like what I think Sam Raimi's going to bring a lot to this, and I'm very excited about that. So, but yeah, and the other insane thing about it that we saw was that we saw that tentacle monster from What If, that everybody's been talking about. Kind of crazy. And then we also see Dark Doctor Strange from What If, at least presumably. And yeah, like it really is like this moment right here where I'm like, okay, it's official. The Disney Plus Marvel shows are important. They are going to tie into the movies. It is official, right? Like this is the most like not justification, but what's the word I'm looking for? This is the most that the Disney Plus shows have been made important. That I'm blanking on the word, but it's like, yeah, if you didn't watch What If, then you're gonna be confused by the Dark Doctor Strange. And if you did watch it, you're gonna be soy facing. And it's official. Like that is going to be a thing. Like these shows are going to tie in. So that was like the one point where I'm like, damn, that really is the case, isn't it? Especially an animated show. It's like, okay, interesting. But yeah, I think Into the Multiverse of Madness looks cool. I wonder, they did it, and yeah, again, we talked about an earlier news story about how MCU is under their contract. The Marvel is able to use Tom Holland in the MCU one more time. I've been assuming it's going to be in the Doctor Strange movie. We didn't see him in this, so maybe he's not in it. Although I thought it was confirmed. I don't know. For whatever reason, I thought it was confirmed. But yeah, I think Doctor Strange 2 looks cool, and I'm excited for it. Although there was a kid next to me, and he said something really funny. They made the Spider-Man trilogy in the time that it took them to make a Doctor Strange sequel. That's actually really funny. And it's true, because Doctor Strange came out all the way in 2016, and they didn't get around to making a sequel until now. But yeah, that's just kind of funny. But yeah, I think that's about it as far as everything that I really wanted to say about Spider-Man. Like really the stuff that impacted me the most was honestly like at the very end. I mean, I don't know. I guess just to touch a bit on some more stuff. Like obviously, I think that all the villain stuff, I think it was really good. I think what they did with Green Goblin was really interesting. It never really clicked with me, but is Green Goblin like Spider-Man's version of the Joker? Because that's definitely what he was in this movie. And I'm not much of a super duper comics nerd guy person thing. They very much felt like that in this movie. And yeah, but I mean, he was great. I mean, especially the fights with him were really brutal. The fact that, he killed Aunt May and really put this Tom Holland to the test. Really well done. Really well done. Loved Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. I even like Jamie Foxx's Electro. The one character that I thought didn't really serve like much of a purpose at all was Lizard, and he was like the one character that I was like, you are just here because you kind of have to be. Like it really did feel like that for Lizard, but he was still fun. But yeah, I thought the villains were good. I thought the side characters were better this time around. Like I thought MJ played more of an active role in the movie. Ned, he still honestly he still probably could have not been in the movie and it would have been fine. But I still appreciate Ned. I like Ned. And he obviously plays the role of being somebody that Peter, whose life Peter messes up and then has to reconcile with. So, and I mean, yeah, Aunt May is the best that she's been in this trilogy by far. I mean, obviously, like she's the Uncle Ben in this movie, and she was great as Uncle Ben. The woke SJWs, they made Ben a woman. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Really good movie. I'm gonna be watching it again on Saturday. Hopefully, maybe I'll have some updated thoughts. Maybe I'll solidify my ranking. I don't know. I think I'll probably have to do like a Spider-Man ranking at some just a video ranking it. It's probably something I should do and make people upset with my list. But yeah, That is going to be it for this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the nerdy movie news of the past week. Let me know what you thought about any and all of these news stories. Let me know what you thought about Spider-Man No Way Home if you watched it. And Andrew Garfield is, in fact, the best Spider-Man. It is solidified.